Howdy, assholes! Are you 13? Are you? Well, let me tell you something. If you're 13 years old or older, sit back, grab yourself some popcorn, enjoy the show. You're allowed to stay. But if you're not 13, get the fuck out. Right now. This show is not for you. It is not for children. It is for adults and young adults, and you should go ask your parents why they suck at their job because they're letting YouTube raise their kid. So yeah, go do that. Come back when you're 13. Enough said.
The power of science. In the right hands, science can be used to make monumental leaps forward in mankind's evolution. However, in the wrong hands, it can be described only as nothing more than pure evil. And then, well, there's the hands of stupid people. What happens when you give it to them? Well, I guess that answers that question. Shit. Alright, Noah. Are you ready? Are you ready, my man?
Indeed I am, good sir.
Alright then. So then, let's do this. Yeah. Last time we covered Godzilla 1984, The Return of Godzilla. And, yeah, in this film, we are covering Godzilla vs. Biollante from 1989. Good God. Noah, do you have anything to say about this film before we get started?
Mother Nature always finds a way.
I mean, sorta, yeah. Alright. So yeah, first of all, we do have a different director for this film, Kazuki Omori. And, Koichi Kawakita does the special effects for this film. I want to mention Koichi Kawakita for this film because, goddamn, is he a master at special effects directing. You'll see why here in a bit. And yeah, I absolutely adored that man's work in this film. And also, first of all, before we get on to the main point of the film, Yuji Sakai, my man, full shot of that. Just look at, oh my god. Noah, how proud are you of this man's work?
Very much so. It's splendid, it's creative, it's overall just enjoyable to look at. It, like, even in theaters, if you look at this, that looks like a fucking awesome movie to watch.
Hell yeah, dude. Even if Godzilla does have a fat ass.
Hey, bigger the ass, the better.
Yes. Alright, so now, one last thing. This film actually didn't really have a creative, well, it did have a creative directing standpoint. But this film is a result of a contest that Toho had for fans to come up with the idea for the next Godzilla film. And according to, well, obviously this film won, but according to the directors, according to the director, this film initially was going to have a more child-friendly vibe to it, which thank God it didn't go in that direction. And, yeah, Godzilla vs. Biollante was born and had a different direction entirely because someone else won the project instead of that film. Oh, thank God we don't have to deal with Kenny's. So, Noah, are you ready to list the characters?
Yep.
Granted, there is a slight chance you might see some returning actors from here on and forth.
Yeah, but at least the majority of the returning actors in the Heisei films actually play the same character throughout the entirety of the series, throughout the entirety of the Heisei continuity, instead of coming back to play completely different characters in different films that suit the setting.
Yep.
So,
Now then.
yes.
We got Konihiko Mitamura as Kazuhito Kirishima. Not Kirishima from My Hero Academia.
I know it can be confusing considering they're both made under the same license or the same company.
Yep. I'm looking at you, Godzilla.
Yep.
We got Yoshiko Tanaka as Asuka Okachi, Masanobu Tashima as Major Sho Kuroki. We got oh god, that name.
What?
Why? We got Megumi Odaka as Miki Segusa.
Break real quick there. Miki Sagusa is going to be the single most important character, not only throughout this film, but throughout the majority of the rest of the Heisei films. And honestly, I do really like what they did with her in this series. Please continue.
We have Koji Takahashi as Dr. Genichiro. Genichiro. There. Dear God.
I always knew you could do it,
Dr.
Noah.
Genichiro as Shiragami.
Yes,
Dr.
Dr. Shiragami.
Genichiro Shiraga. I'm about to say shit here.
By the way, there are 2 Dr. Shiragamis in this in this film, so don't get mad at me.
Genichiro. There. Just refer to him as Dr. Genichiro.
Yes. Okay.
Toro Minagishi as Cole Goto Gondo. Yes. Yeah, Cole Goto Gondo. Hell yeah. We have Toshiyuki Nakashima as Seichi Yamamoto. The fuck is Dur?
I have
Is
no
it supposed to be saying doctor? It's D-I-R. What the fuck?
idea. Probably a typo,
see.
dude.
We got Ryonosuke Kanada as Mokoto Okochi. I believe I said that right. We have Manjo Betty as SSS9. Fuga as Keiko Owada, Chief Cabinet Secretary. I don't know why I have trouble saying that. Why? Yasuko Sawaguchi as Erika Shiragami. Kazuma Matsubara as Super X2 Coordinator. Hiroshi Nakada as Defense Minister Minoru Koyama. Koichi Ueda as General Hyodo. Kosuke Toihora as Super X2 Controller. We got Takashi Hunt as John Lee, Biomajor Spy. We'll talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Holmes as Michael Lowe, Biomajor Spy. Demon Kogure as himself. Abdallah Hela as Saradian scientist. Oh, Saradian scientist. There we go. Aiden Yamanlar. Aiden Yamanlar as Saradian plant director. Soman Medizadeh as Sirhan. We got one of the most important characters in any franchise. We have Haruko Sagara as TV reporter.
Fuck you, CNN. Get out of here, fake news.
The most important character in every franchise. A TV reporter. Yuki Saito as pop singer. Beth Blatt as Susan Horn. We have Kazue Ikura as airport PA. And then finally, to the main title of the movie. Kenpachiro Satsuma as Godzilla. And Masachi Takeguma as Biollante.
Yes, indeed.
God damn, that's a big
Is
cast.
it just me, or does this film seem to have one of the biggest casts in the entire franchise so far?
As far as we know, probably.
Alrighty. So yeah, Noah, with all that out the way, do you want to talk about the film now? Because I know I do. Before we
Very
talk
much
about
so.
the film, quick mention. For the majority of people who are watching this video, whether or not I agree with this, Godzilla vs. Biollante, yeah, there's a lot of people who say that this film is one of the best, if not the best, Godzilla films there is. And to an extent, I can see why. It's pretty damn good. And yeah, without further ado, let's dive straight into this gorgeous bitch. So yeah, Godzilla vs. Biollante. Let's jump straight into this. Yeah, in the aftermath of Godzilla...
Yahoo!
What?
Yahoo!
Alrighty. Someone's excited. Yeah. In the aftermath of Godzilla's attack on Tokyo, referring to the 1984 film, yeah, the world is now not only aware that Godzilla is alive and he is currently trapped inside of Mount Mihara, and yeah, they're also aware that if Mount Mihara ever erupts, Godzilla will walk forth and continue his path of destruction. And now, because of Godzilla's attack, suddenly the world is a new and very dangerous place to live, as because of Godzilla's presence and his attack on Tokyo, there is a brand new, dangerous, but also invaluable resource in the form of G-cells, aka Godzilla's DNA.
And what do we refer that as? None other than G-cells.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. The majority of people say that in, games and whatnot. Yeah, actually, great point,
It has
Noah.
been a staple currency in most Godzilla games.
Yeah, no shit. Especially with the Atari trilogy making it a popular phrase, too.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So yeah, not only is this resource new and invaluable, so much so to the point where literally any country will be willing to do anything to get their hands on even a tiny piece of it. Not only are people now using Godzilla cells as power for some of the, I'm assuming, richer countries in the world, but there are also times when people are experimenting with Godzilla cells to try and create new forms of plants, new forms of medical technology, and shit like that. And during one of these experiments, there is a lab in Saradia, I believe, where a doctor by the name of Shiragami and his daughter are currently attending, and they're trying to use Godzilla cells to figure out how to create a new type of plant that can be grown in the desert and turned into food, which is a very good idea. However, seeing as how invaluable Godzilla cells are, the lab is attacked by a terrorist organization, I believe, and caught up in the explosion, Erika, who is Dr. Shiragami's daughter, actually ends up getting killed. So what does this psychopath of a father do? He takes his daughter's DNA and puts it in a rose. That's gonna be important later. God damn, what is this dude watching? Or what is this dude on? You know what?
Mad scientist.
Yeah, mad
Except
scientist
not
and then
evil.
some. So
Mad
yeah,
scientist, but not evil.
pretty much. I mean, yeah. Not all, in fact, most mad scientists aren't evil, bro. That's the scary part. However, with all that aside, that takes a backseat for a while, because meanwhile, agents from an American company called Biollante are currently trying to steal something called anti-nuclear energy bacteria that the Japanese made in case Godzilla was able to escape from Mount Mihara. And as a result, the people from Biollante are basically trying to hold the country to ransom because they've placed detonation devices all around the top of Mount Mihara. And if if Japan doesn't cough over the anti-nuclear energy bacteria, they will release Godzilla so he can continue his reign of destruction. Seems like a simple enough plot, however, it all of a sudden becomes more complicated because, yeah, there's a Saradian agent who also wants the shit and doesn't care if Godzilla gets released. With all that being said, now Godzilla gets released from Mount Mihara because the Saradian agent interferes in the trade, And, well, now all of a sudden, because the whole world is afraid of Godzilla now, everyone wants the anti-nuclear energy bacteria even more because they are afraid of Godzilla coming to their country. Hell of a way to screw yourself, guys.
And can we also talk about one of the best scenes in the Heisei era is Godzilla marching through the city as destruction just follows him.
Yeah, Osaka? Hell yeah. Yeah. Godzilla, when he's released, obviously he's starving because he's been inside of that volcano for a while. Even though in a later film we do realize that he could have actually just swam through it, so, whatever. But yeah, Godzilla basically immediately embarks to go out and find himself a new radiation source, and the destruction scene in this film. Unfortunately, it is used in later films as stock footage, but to be fair, one, it's damn good stock footage, and two, it is barely ever used outside of this film. And honestly, I gotta say, Godzilla's path of destruction in this film is kind of fun to watch, especially when you see the fact that Godzilla's not even really trying to do shit. He's just going on a leisurely walk to go get a snack and shit is exploding around him. So, yeah, meanwhile, all this is going down, and, because of the Mount Mahara eruptions that have been taking place before this, explosion to release Godzilla went down, Dr. Shiragami's roses ended up getting hurt, and he decided that he needed to do something to save his daughter's life, who he believes is still alive inside of the roses. Which actually turns out to be right later in the movie, which is disgusting, but, whatever. So, he decides to fuse the DNA of this already mutated and probably diseased plant with the cells of Godzilla. And, yeah, that shit is terrifying. So now not only does the world have to deal with Godzilla again, but they also have to deal with Biollante, a giant mutated monster that is basically a cross between Erica, a Rose, and Godzilla. And goddamn is it terrifying, honestly. So there you go, there's your plot. Now the entirety of the Japanese military has to deal with two immensely dangerous threats, all the while trying to deal with the Seradian agent trying to flee the country, and also, unfortunately, they don't catch the Seradian agent before he kills Dr. Shiragami. But yeah, Noah, that's the brief rundown of Godzilla vs. Biollante. The longest film synopsis I believe I've given, because there's so much happening in this movie, it's honestly insane. So which do you want to talk about first, the humans or the monsters?
Now let's go to the humans, because this is actually a bit more interesting now.
Yeah, alright, fair enough. The human aspect of this film. I'm gonna say it's as good as it was in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla from 1974. The human aspect of this film is handled masterfully, and I absolutely love it. Yeah, the human characters in this film, each of them are, well, the majority of them are important to the plot. They all have their own unique roles. And yeah, the actors are clearly having a great time playing the role. And not only that, but if you ask me, I personally say that the characters in this film have some of the best writing that I've seen in a Godzilla film thus far. Keyword, thus far. Don't forget it. And yeah, I don't really see any major problems with the cast, except, okay, one major problem with the cast. They are stereotyping the fuck out of America. And yeah, Noah, you got anything to say about the human characters?
Let's not forget about one of the main characters that actually make it through most of the Heisei eras. Well,
Yes.
Multiple eras. Oh my god.
Yes.
But no, movies.
Alright. Yeah, let's talk about her immediately. Noah already mentioned her, Megumi Odaka, playing Miki Sagusa, who was born with the ability of telekinesis or psychokinesis. And yeah, That is easily one of the more interesting aspects of the entire Heisei series. On numerous occasions throughout the Heisei series, she will be used to try and communicate with and or control the kaiju, which, yeah, it doesn't really work, but you know, whatever. And yeah, honestly, the way she's written in this movie, she's almost as important as Godzilla himself, which, yeah, that's saying something. So without further ado, Noah, would you like to talk about the monsters now?
Hell yeah.
Oh my god, dude. Alright, let's talk about Godzilla's design first. The last film upgraded him. This film almost perfects him. This film's Godzilla design, not only is he slimmed down a little bit, but he looks he looks a little less vicious, but he also looks more intimidating at the same time. And I don't know how the hell they did that, but I love the fact that they did. And god damn, bro, does Godzilla look awesome in this film. Not just his suit
Yes,
design,
he
but the way
does.
he acts and moves. Godzilla in this film, the last film he acted like a confused and curious child. This film, he still acts curious, but he also acts to be as a more serious and curious dude, because he doesn't take any chances. If he sees a threat, he's gonna shoot first and ask questions later. And speaking of shooting first and asking questions later, dude, the special effects for this film, god damn, they look so good. And yes, we are introduced to Godzilla's nuclear pulse in this film. But his atomic breath looks so clean, but at the same time, freaking destructive as hell before it even collides with anything that he's shooting at. And it just looks, I don't know how to explain it. It looks amazing, and I don't really know how else to explain it. And speaking of the special effects, that brings me to the Super X2. Super X2 is basically the Super X, except it has a fire mirror that can absorb Godzilla's atomic breath, or any atomic attack really, and fire it back at the monster with amplified force. Intriguing idea on
Which worked
paper.
for a short bit.
It did work for a short bit. But it turned out that Godzilla's atomic breath was too hot and started melting through the mirror.
Yeah.
Yep. And, honestly, the Super X2 sounds like an intriguing idea on paper, but I feel like this movie would have been better if they just left it out. Honestly. I mean, it looks dumb. Its powers seem interesting, even if they do get thrown out the window immediately. And honestly, I don't understand why it was even here. It was literally just here to be a plot device. And that reminds me of a certain film that we're going to be covering here soon, but more on that later. Now, Noah, let's talk about the main, there really is no actual main villain in this film now that I think about it. Let's talk about the main opposing kaiju for Godzilla to fight. Do you have anything you want to say about Biollante?
Actually, quite a bit.
Alright, feel free.
Because the way Biollante is portrayed, I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of, well, probably a lot of people do, but I feel bad for Biollante.
Yeah, essentially Biollante was created by a mad scientist desperate to save his daughter, and in the end, Biollante is a product of mad science that has 3 different split personalities inside of its body, and it doesn't know how to interact with the world, it doesn't know what the hell it is, and ultimately, it calls out to Godzilla because Godzilla is the only creature whose language it can understand. And the first thing that happens when Godzilla shows up is Godzilla feels threatened by this thing and attacks her. Which, by the way, it is confirmed that Biollante is a female.
Actually, it's the reverse. It's Biollante, the one that felt threatened, and so it started attacking.
Oh, okay, she's the one who started attack. Oh, I thought Godzilla was the one who drew first blood on that one. My bad.
Yep, and it's her cries that alerted Godzilla to her like alerted him to her presence, and so drawing him near her until Biollante got threatened by Godzilla's imposing force, and so started launching an attack just by instinct.
I never actually noticed that, Noah. Thank you for pulling that up. I never noticed that Biollante was the one who attacked first. I always thought Godzilla was the one who felt threatened and decided to attack Biollante, but now I'm looking at that in an entirely different way. And it actually makes sense, too, because of Biollante's split personality. Now, let's talk about her design, Noah, or her designs, her two designs. Bro, Biollante is freaking amazing to look at in this film. Her first design, when she's inside of Lake. Which lake was it?
It was a lake, just in general.
Okay, it was just a big ass lake. And
Yeah.
yeah. Biollante, when she was in the lake, she was anchored to the ground and she had a weird ass looking upper head that was basically a giant rose with a mouth in the middle of it. And unfortunately, her heart, as she is a plant, is exposed at all times. So, yeah, she's extremely vulnerable whenever something attacks her heart. And Godzilla, I don't know if this was intentional or unintentional, but he takes full advantage of that when he blasts her directly in the heart. And honestly, bro, I feel as though the first design is, I'm not going to say better than the second design, but I do feel as though it is one of the more unique aspects of the Godzilla franchise so far. And I just love the way this thing looks. And speaking of her second design, bro, she is goddamn menacing to look at now. I don't know why she looks different. Maybe it's because she's stronger, or actually, yeah, she is definitely stronger in her second form because not only can she move, but she is literally powerful enough to throw Godzilla. They never actually show that in the film, but it is implied that that Biollante is big enough and strong enough to pick Godzilla up and throw him around like a rag doll. And
Granted,
actually,
I wouldn't be surprised because Goji is not necessarily that heavy compared to all the monsters.
yeah. Oh, he's got super strength, but that doesn't mean he's got super weight. And yeah, bro. Her second design basically looks like her first design, except her head is replaced with a crocodile mouth, and her back is bigger and more pronounced. And dude, I just love the way Biollante looks, moves, and the way she fights. And it just sucks that we don't really get to know who the true winner of this fight would have been, because not only was Biollante stronger in her second form when she attacked Godzilla, but Godzilla was weakened big time before the fight even started.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Godzilla was attacked while he was in Osaka, where the government used the anti-nuclear energy bacteria to inject basically a poison specific to Godzilla's body structure and put it in his body. And then once they realized that they needed heat to activate it, they basically lured Godzilla to a location where they shot artificial lightning at Godzilla, which heated his body up. Which we are going to actually talk about that right now. I love the fact that in the Heisei series, we often see the military referring to different methods to take Godzilla down once they realize that conventional weaponry just isn't going to be enough. We did not get to see enough of that in the original series, and I love that we get to see a ton of that in the Heisei series. And yeah, so this final fight, ultimately, I feel as though it could have been done better, but for what it is, it's a damn spectacle. It is amazing to watch, and honestly, I love that neither of the kaiju actually died in this film, because one, Biollante didn't deserve to die, and two, Godzilla ultimately is a victim of circumstance in this movie. Noah, with everything we've said, what audiences would you recommend Godzilla vs. Biollante to?
seeing as how this is still the Heisei era and they do take more of a serious approach, I will say a bit of an older audience.
Yes.
But I don't really know what audience to suggest GBB. I really don't.
Okay. Well, like Noah said, I would definitely recommend this film to an older audience, and I would also recommend this film to an audience for science fiction. Heavily science fiction, though. You have to be all sorts into that shit in order to be intrigued by this film, and you have to be willing to shove reality aside and put your morals to the side as well if you're going to watch this film with any sort of actual intent to enjoy it. Obviously, Mega Godzilla fans, you're going to love the hell out of this movie. And not only that, but to an extent, I would recommend that some, excuse me, I would recommend that some sort of, like, fans of just animal features in general would enjoy this one, because it wrestles with morality a lot in this film. So, yeah, those are the audiences I would recommend this film to. That's basically it for Godzilla vs. Biollante, ladies and gents. Join us tomorrow as we tackle Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
Alright, y'all know the drill. Like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Y'all want more videos, right? More kick-ass shit? Well, good, because I want more views. Let's help each other on this.